Michael, I think, pulling into the pits.
Pulling.
We'll double check it. That looked like Michael's car coming in.
Peeling out. Now, is this too early for the first pit stops is the question.
Yep, there he is.
Yes, it seems to me, Jim, unless he's been using fuel at a tremendous rate, something is wrong. And yet it looks routine.
It certainly does so far.
Now, all right. This shouldn't take more than about 18 seconds. These early stops, by the way, you see they don't change tires. The fuel flows in very fast, Jim, because of what they call the head pressure. There's so much fuel in the tank. See, 14 seconds, that's a terrific stop. And that's why they don't change tires in the first stops, because they know that they're going to be able to refuel so fast, they don't want to waste time changing the tire.
Now, the question is whether the other lead cars are burning fuel at almost the same rate as Michael Andretti. If so, they'll be coming in for pit stops very shortly. What a job these pit crews do here. And there are stories all through the other rows. Former champion Tom Sneva and Mario Andretti's son Michael, the South Americans, Getty and Garza and Bozell. A look now at the unofficial results. They won't be official until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, but no changes are anticipated. There you see some of the others. The Dutchman Leyendijk did very well in his debut here as a rookie. That's what the R means.
And now let's try Al Trautwig again. Al?
Jim, as you and Sam have been wondering as to why Michael Andretti has slid, of course, from the 1-2 duel with Rick Mears. Well, actually, what happened was that Michael got lucky. You see, after his second pit stop, he switched tires. He went back on the track and felt that those tires were not giving him a very good handling ride. So then came the yellow, and quickly he came back in and put a new set of tires on. Barry Green, his crew chief, tells me that the car is handling back up to where they want it to be. Back to you.
All right, so that explains why Michael Andretti finds himself back in 6th place at the moment, but he has begun to move up. A couple of laps ago, he was back in 8th place. So Andretti may yet mount another threat during this middle portion of the race to Rick Mears. And there is Michael Andretti in the pits. As you saw while Michael was speaking, he ducked into pit row, so now he will surrender his lead in the race.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he better straighten his wheels out before he pulled out, because one of the crewmen knocked the wheels, and if he hadn't noticed that, he would have pulled out right into the pit wall. He noticed it, straightened the wheel out.
Still, he lost about 4 or 5 seconds when you compare the time for his pit stop with those of Mears and some of the others. There are 8 laps, 20 miles to go in the Indianapolis 500. 7 left to go when he crosses the start-finish line here.
Michael Andretti just ducking in, incidentally. 4th place, Michael Andretti.
That's Rahal right behind Kogan.
Yep.
Here comes Mears. We may still have 3 cars who have a say about this.
We knew Michael was going to probably have to make that extra stop. He's making that now. That, of course, is totally the end of any chance. He will now be lapped. He has been lapped.
This is Jim Lampley back live in Indianapolis, where you can see that the yellow flag remains out on lap 31 of the Indianapolis 500 while we are away. This moment of trouble in Michael Andretti's pit. At this moment, the Michael Andretti team is still recovering from this incident. Bobby, smoke in the pit. There may have been a fire.
Well, there obviously was a fire. What caused it at the pit stop, I really can't tell you right now. There was so much happening all at the same time. We had action all around this racetrack.
And now, Sam Posey, Michael Andretti's car is being pushed to the garage in front of us. For the moment, it is he who has inherited his father's legacy of racing bad luck here.
Yes, but it's the first time he's had bad luck here, Jim, because he has raced. That crewman there with his back to us, so the helmet on, might have been hurt. But this is the first time that Michael Andretti in 4 starts has ever been out of the race. He finished his first 3 starts here, appeared to have a real lucky streak going.
And now there is a look at a very frustrated Michael Andretti live. Remember that a methanol fire does not produce flames. You do not see flames. You see only some vapor with a methanol fire.
As we were looking at, let's go to Jerry Gaplin right now. Jerry has the report.
Michael Andretti, Michael, a pit fire there, a lot of scare. What happened?
Well, we came in, actually the car broke anyway. We broke a CV joint. And then the yellow came out, so I came in the pits, and obviously, I guess the fuel just started gushing out, and then it finally caught to the engine and started a fire. But it was a bit of a scare there for a moment.
Your crewman, Jim Wilson, seemed to get burned, or he had a lot of water on him. What happened with Jim?
Well, I didn't see the whole thing, but I think he probably got the worst of it. But he looked like he was all right, maybe just a little shaken up.
Track conditions, real quick. We've seen a lot of incidents out there. What's it like out there?
The turbulence is unbelievable. I didn't expect it at all. It was just, I mean, the car was all over the place, and I wasn't the only one. Everybody, it's going to be a long day for those guys, I'll tell you.
Was it scary?
Yeah, it had a couple moments for sure.
Okay, Michael Andretti's okay, though?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, Michael Andretti, Jim Lampley.
And look, on board Michael Andretti's car, the upper cover of the right side pod is blowing and trying to rip off of the car. Michael Andretti runs in third place right now. Here comes Jim Crawford roaring out of the pits. Bobby, I told you, it's not over until the checkered flag flies. And this race, while being dominated by Rick Mears, is still very active.
Not only that, there it goes. Now that will cause a yellow flag.
Yep. And they'll bunch up, and it'll be a trophy dash between
yellow
the
flag.
Yep.
We saw it. We anticipated.
There's going to be
came off on the main straightaway. The yellow flag comes out, and it's going to be a sprint to the finish of the Indianapolis 500. We are on lap number 197, just 3 to go. We're back at the Indianapolis 500. Michael Andretti running in the lead. Just like his father several years ago, the engine has let go. He coasts to a stop on the track from the lead. Michael Andretti out of the 500.
That's another Chevrolet problem with those engines today, Paul. You can watch as the smoke comes out of the tailpipe. That's when you know it's coming out water and oil. That means they really got the engine good.
We talk about what fathers, as here comes Emerson Fittipaldi streaking into the pits, and we're going to have to watch and see what he does, although it is no longer that critical, is it? Because he has a big lead now, and his main rival is Al Unser Jr.
Sam, which will in turn cause the yellow to come out, which will in turn give little Al
a chance
to catch back up, and it'll still put two cars right together for the lead.
The Patrick crew carefully taking their time. Look at this as the steam from that engine wafts over the front of Michael's car, and look at him. He pounds the steering wheel in frustration as Emerson Fittipaldi comes out. In just a few seconds, he will come past Michael Andretti. Safety crews with Michael.
We talk about what sons inherit from their fathers, what skills and what attitude. How about what kinds of luck? Michael Andretti going out at Indianapolis the way his dad has so often here before.
Look at the stare in Michael's eyes, the disappointment. The Indianapolis 500 could have been his.
He has a right to be sad, Paul.
The rope is to help them tow the car back into the pit areas.
Strange how much his eyes, which looked so youthful just last week compared to Mario's, sort of already just in today's proceedings taken on extra wisdom that goes with such severe disappointment as this.
Fans wish so much for the Andretti family. And once again, it has come to this. This time, though, it strikes Michael. So many people want to see Michael score his first Indianapolis 500-mile race win. They thought perhaps this was the day. Now, with Emerson Fittipaldi's pit stop, that brought Al Unser Jr. up to the front of the field, and under the yellow, little Al will be scored in the front of the race. Well, little Al has yet to make his pit stop, and there's Michael on the rope on the way into the pits, and his day is done. Now, it was over on the front straightaway that this situation first developed. Car was looking so good and so fast. There's his car moving down the main stretch. Look, about halfway down there, right at the line now. The engine let go right in front of the giant grandstands that line the 5/8 of a mile long home stretch at the Speedway, and he coasted to a stop over on the back stretch. Now the crowd salutes him as he comes back.
Scott Brinkman's over. Mario Andretti would move up. And Rick Mears 69. The end of the pit stop is
We're back at the Indianapolis 500, and there is the car of Michael Andretti in the pits, silent. His day is done. Let's go to Brian Hemmings.
Michael Andretti and his wife, Sandy. Michael, what was it that ended your day?
Well, the engine blew.
At any point, you were running so well. At any point during this race, were you thinking to yourself that my dad won this thing 20 years ago, and here I am leading Indy?
Yeah, and I guess I inherited more than just his driving. I think I inherited a bit of his luck here at this place because, you know, the car was just so good. I was just taking my time, you know, a nice conservative pace, not trying to take anything out of it. But obviously, I guess we took too much out of it. I don't know where.
For a while today, Michael Andretti really had him covered. Paul?
A good driver, a likable man, out of the 500-mile race. First stop under the green flag, and as a result, this car moves to the lead. It's Michael Andretti out in front, but he will cycle down into the pits as well. As you can see, he threads across that line and heads down for a pit stop as well.
Well, he was sure going awful slow back in there, Paul. Have to see if Michael gets any different type of pit work as he comes in.
Well, Michael Andretti on the roll down into the Newman Haas pits. With these pit stops under green, the lead will change several times. A lot of smoke at the back of the car. Now some fire as they pull off.
The rear brake is on fire, Paul.
Well, I'm surprised that that would happen, that he'd even use it that much. Look at the rotor there. Look at fire still coming off the brake rotor, as now they're going to try to disassemble that rotor.
Here in Indianapolis, Paul, some of the cars, like we mentioned earlier, have been using different brakes, trying to get the reciprocating weight from the wheels a little bit lighter, get the unsprung weight a little bit lighter, and they're causing problems.
Michael Andretti chasing Fittipaldi, now trying him on the backstretch. Michael Andretti moves to the inside, gets a little better acceleration and gets to the corner ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi. Michael Andretti picks up the place.
Now, remember another thing. Michael has been in the pits for 15 or 20 minutes. He's only wanting to go on down the road. He has plenty of fuel, new tires, everything's fresh. His car's almost even cool again. Fittipaldi, on the other hand, has a blistering right rear problem. He has to slow down. He's been told, slow down or you're not going to even have a chance of winning this race.
All right, so apparently the work that was done on this car during that rather lengthy stop has worked. And Michael starts to work his way back up through the field, but he's running 22nd.
But the motivation for Michael is set a track record, and it's quite possible that he could do that right now.
Andretti on lap 93 came in, and when they took off that right rear, flames poured off of the brake drum. It appeared that there was a serious problem there, but they stuck with it. 15-minute stop. They had the car back into the action. Now Michael Andretti is with Jerry Punch.
That was originally a concern that maybe the brakes had locked up on the car, but that wasn't the case, Michael Andretti. What happened?
No, we had a problem with the right rear wheel bearing that for some reason seized up. So, you know, it was a real shame. The Kmart Havlin car was running very strong. We had just taken a lead at that point with the pit stops, and I was feeling really good about it. You know, I think we were the only car that didn't have a problem with blistering the right rear tire, and I think that could have been the key.
Any idea that's the same thing that happened to Danny Sullivan, and he was was less fortunate than you and Pancho Carter?
Well, I was very lucky because when I entered turn one, it almost spun around on me, but I was very fortunate to be able to keep it, you know, straight. And why the other guys had the problem, I don't know. Pancho, we could say, well, it's the same car. You know, maybe there is something to it, but with Danny, it's a totally different car, so you can't really compare it.
They will put the engineers to work here in the garage area tonight, trying to decipher what the problem is with that right rear wheel bearing. Paul?
All right, Michael Andretti with a very troublesome Indianapolis 500. And Sandy Andretti, knowing full well a few moments ago that that car needed to come in if her husband was to win this race. She was praying through every lap, but she was in tears because she felt that he didn't have a chance. And then suddenly, on the main straightaway, a problem developing with Danny Sullivan as the engine let go. and the yellow flag came out, and Michael ran as fast as he could for the pit.
Yes.
And the emotions changed as he sees that there's a chance. The rest of the team, Ed Knapp and Carl Haas climbs up there as Danny Sullivan rolls into the pit area trying to get the car out of harm's way, and Michael screams into the pits under the yellow. The crew is there. All they have to do is fuel the car. The hose hooks up, and look at Sandy now. Thank you for the help. And Michael rolls out.
But let us not forget that Michael is in second place behind Rick Mears. He must pass Rick Mears to retake the lead of this race. Rick Mears, who of course has won this race 3 times, Michael has not won it at all.
So what about Rick Mears, Jackaroo?
Well, Paul, let me amplify on what Sam said. Rick Mears and his team are very excited about their prospects for a 4th Indianapolis 500 victory. The chatter back and forth on the radio has been apprising Rick of the fact that Michael is now behind him, and all that Rick said is, I'll keep my foot in it.
Well, they're under yellow. We are on the 185th lap. Just in front of Rick Mears is Michael's cousin, John Andretti. Andretti started this race with 4 in the field. There are 2 left. One of them is John. Then you see Rick Mears, the leader of the race, so he's back in the serial. And then Michael Andretti is just behind him.
3 Andrettis. Mario is still
in the fight, certainly. Thank you, Sam. On board with Rick. Now here's something else to consider. This race traditionally changes in the last 10 laps. We're approaching that area now. The green flag is back out, and Rick Mears comes around John Andretti. He's no factor whatsoever, but Michael is right there with him. Michael moving to the outside. Can he keep in the high groove? He did it at Phoenix. Can he do it here? Michael Andretti takes the lead away from Rick Mears. Wow!
That's one of the toughest passes I've ever seen. A short shoot pass with 2 cars running nearly the same speed. I'll just bet you that Rick Mears thought that would have been impossible, and I just can tell you he never, ever looked for Michael to go that way.
That is sheer virtuosity by Michael Andretti, Bobby. Don't you agree? That was an incredible
That was one of the finest pieces of driving, one of the hardest pieces of driving I've seen. And Sam, it's very difficult to pass somebody on the outside like that, and especially a car that's just as bad.
And from Bobby Under's point of view, a position on the track that he was not expected. But here is Rick Mears now in the same position as Mears, who has been driving a very different line this race. Takes Michael Andretti. 187 laps into the record book. The fight is at the front.
Laura, hats off to him now. If you ever see racing better than that, I'd certainly like to know where it's going to be.
That's Rick's wife, Chris Mears. At the front of the field is Rick Mears, but the yellow flag comes out. There is a car sitting on the entrance to the pit lane. And apparently they've decided to bring the yellow out, and it's none other than Mario Andretti.
What an irony. The yellow flag would prevent his son from having any chance to counterattack against Rick Mears.
But then it might give him a chance, because it will put Michael right up next to Rick.
Good point for a restart. And what happened on the last restart? Michael was able to rip by Rick.
So the fates of this race changes again as the yellow is out, and it will be a definite sprint to the finish with 9 laps to go. Rick Mears has won 3 Indy 500s, but he's lost 2 of the closest in history to John Cock by 16/100ths of a second in '82 and by 2 seconds to Ray Hall in '86.
The point is, he is no stranger to close finishes. Michael Andretti has never been involved with a battle for the lead in the Indy 500 when it counted. It counts now.
6 laps to go.
Rick really got a run at it that time at the restart, Paul. He wasn't going to let Michael sneak up on him, and he didn't have any traffic to worry about, nor did Michael.
Gary Gerald alongside Michael Andretti, and it's hard to gauge the emotion. You come so close to the greatest possible victory in motorsports. What a showdown on the last 15 laps with Rick Mears.
Well, we gave it everything we had, but we just came up a little short. The car was running really good, but Rick just had probably about a mile per hour or 2 on us in straightaway speed, and just couldn't defend myself.
Your dad brought out the yellow late in the race. You were able to close back up on Rick. What kind of thoughts flashing through your mind then? Keeping in mind also you got a break with a yellow flag earlier that got you the splash of fuel you needed.
Yeah, well, I was hoping that, you know, I'd be able to get a jump on Rick, but he played the last start a little bit better than he did the one prior to that, so you know, I couldn't get a run on him. He just, again, he just was very strong on the straightaway, and we just couldn't do anything. But, you know, the Kmart Howland guys did a great job in the pits, and the car ran great, but not good enough.
Will we see Michael Andretti in an IndyCar at this racetrack next May?
I wish I could answer that. Right now I can't. Maybe, maybe not.
We hope we do. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Paul?
His best finish ever here, Michael Andretti. Best before was 4th. He now finishes in 2nd. And Rick Mears takes the win. 11 laps to go in the Indy 500, and Michael is slowing. Michael is slowing. The rest of the field is coming past. Michael Andretti is slowing down. Al Unser Jr. will take the lead as Michael Andretti slows down at Indianapolis. An unbelievable turn of events. The man who has dominated this race on the 189th lap. Suddenly the car slows and Michael appears to be done.
Paul, that is another Andretti thing. It's sad for Michael. I have never seen a race driver in my life that deserves this race more than Michael Andretti, and he isn't even going to make it back to the pits.
There come the leaders, 1st and 2nd. Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear. Jack Arute, you have an update.
Paul, it was very simple on the radio. He radioed in, "I can't believe it. The engine quit."
And about 400,000 people here cannot believe it as well. They are all on their feet. And Michael wants that car back to the pits. If a man ever deserved the accolade of this gigantic crowd, it's Michael Andretti. He led 163 laps. And then turning a lap of only about 220 miles an hour, much slower than he'd been earlier in the day. Suddenly the engine shut down.
You can hear the people
There's
cheering him right now. There's one of his owners, Paul Newman, wife Sandy.
Ed Nathmans.
You know, this shows you how quickly fate changes here at Indianapolis, doesn't it?
You're watching Michael Andretti, a car and driver who dominated this 76 running today, being pulled back to the garage area. What a disappointment for another one of the Andretti family. Michael obviously hoping to get out of the car and make it to Methodist Hospital as fast as he can, but very, very disappointed sitting in the car as he is being towed back to Gasoline Alley. Paul?
Michael, of course, concerned with injuries to both his father and to Jeff Andretti. There's the Valvoline running order. Emerson Fittipaldi is leading the field back to green flag with his teammate Al Unser Jr. in 2nd and Michael Andretti in 3rd. That's where the battle will focus as we head back toward green.
The incidents have obscured the fact that so far in this race, the Mercedes engine Penske cars are really the dominant factor. We lost track of that because of the incidents, but look at them now. 1, 2, and about to pull away from Michael Andretti in the red car there in 3rd.
And Rails.
You can get an idea from how they accelerated from Michael, how much more torque they have down at low RPM, because Mercedes just literally took off from the Cosworth.
But boy, take a look at Eddie Cheever as he jumped around Michael and is tearing after the leaders now. And Michael may have a problem. That's the 2nd car to scream past.
Michael is having a problem.
Michael's pulling the left over here. He's down, Paul. He's having a serious problem of some sort.
And they're crowding up behind him as Michael Andretti faltered as they came back to the green flag, and he continues to falter as the field now streams past.
Yeah, but that's more of a problem.
Jack Arute, you have an update?
Yes, Paul, he's radioed in. He has a flat tire. He's going to have to come on the pit road. Tough break for Andretti.
And that's something you can't always feel when you're under the yellow. You don't. It happened while he was under the yellow, but you don't feel it till you get back up to speed.
Yet he had to make the whole lap in that trouble.
So under green flag as we come back, our first lap of green flag racing on lap 41 after the accident involving Dobson and Groff. And Michael Andretti, apparently some problem with a tire.
Paul, that means there's always a little bit of debris left that the officials just don't find when they clean up. And all it takes, these tires don't have tubes, takes a little tiny puncture.
Watch for the field possibly to come by. This is a brutal break. He may go a lap down. Watch above him there. Here he's coming out. Now look over to the... No, he stalled it. Now the field is going to come by. He's going down a lap or more.
Let's go to Jack.
He stalled it once again, and they've got to refire. He lights up the new sets of tires. A man is very, very frustrated.
Now he tries to catch the field, but you can see the rest of the field streaming past on the outside as in a desperate move to merely try and get back
in on only 1 lap behind. Here goes Michael, and he's flying out past Bobby Unser.
Yes, he is, Paul. He's looking all right. Now he comes down the track, blends in.
Well, Gary, there's a lot of confusion and quite a bit of concern down here in the Chip Ganassi pits. Now, Michael Andretti, you came across in 3rd place, but when you came out of the car and looked up to the board, they have posted you finishing now in 6th position. What happened?
I don't know. You know, they were putting the black flag out, and we didn't get an explanation why. And pits were closed, so I couldn't come into pits. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I wish we're going to go talk to them and figure out what's happening, because I don't know why I should get a black flag.
Now, Michael, we're talking. We hear from USAC that they deny a black flag. Chip, you've been talking with the USAC folks. Chip Ganassi, we're checking with that. What have they told you?
Well, all I know is that Michael's number showed up on the black flag board. I said, Michael, you're being black flagged. Simultaneously, the track goes yellow. When the track goes yellow, the pits are closed. That's all I know. He said, what do I do? Well, you can't pit when the pits are closed. That's all I know.
Michael?
Yeah, but the other thing is I never got the black flag. I only got it on the board. That's the other thing. I don't know.
And during that time, the black flag, then he said, oh, my number's off the board now.
Yeah, it was off the board the last.
It was on the board, then off the board.
Now, how do we resolve this? What do you do now, Chip Ganassi?
Well, I'm going to meet in the USAC office in 10 minutes. I've been told to come to a meeting there in 10 minutes.
So Chip Ganassi will head to USAC office, and a very disappointed Michael Andretti overcoming 3 cut tires to think he finished 3rd, now being shown it's a 6th place finisher.
So the Indianapolis 500 ends with another Unser at the top of the list and controversy with Michael Andretti. Now here's the situation on Michael Andretti. The officials of the race, Tom Binford, the chief steward of the United States Auto Club, says that he passed Hiro Matsushita on lap 189, and therefore they were going to put out the black flag. That was under the yellow. But they couldn't do that because of the situation with the yellow at the end of the race. And so they have assessed a 1-lap penalty, moving Michael Andretti from 3rd down to the bottom of this chart in 6th place.
Remember that Mauricio is a big hero down in Brazil. He appears in ads for, I think, poultry stuff, the chicken business. His father's a timber merchant and an antique dealer. He's been famous down there for a long time.
Michael Andretti makes his move as Gugelmin heads for the pits, and Michael Andretti goes for the lead of the race once again. Mauricio Gugelmin makes his 2nd stop of the day, and Michael Andretti assumes the lead. He was closing quickly on Gugelmin as he slowed down, and then Andretti came into the pits as well. Now, Andretti last made a stop just 10 laps ago, so this stop for Andretti is not routine. Gugelmin's stop is. Here's the Andretti stop. We're under the green. Michael, when Gugelmin slowed down, you saw him get out a little bit there, and he reported that he touched the wall, so he headed right down into the pits.
That won't make Michael too happy. He's going to be screaming about that, saying that Gugelmin caused him to do that. And I don't know which side is right on that one.
Remember at Miami earlier in the year when Michael rode for several laps after contact with the wall and another car. Here's Michael in the pits still.
They're really looking it over.
Obviously.
Jack Villeneuve comes into the pits. Of course, he has not been a factor since that 2-lap penalty. He dropped down to 27th, now runs 19th as he came in on this stop. They're still working on Michael's car.
He's obviously told him that it didn't feel good after he touched the wall. Of course, we don't know exactly how hard he hit the wall, but it meant something because Michael has a super good feel for things like that.
Villeneuve back into the fight. The terrible Andretti luck. Michael Andretti climbs out. Many thought this was his best chance ever. Well, and Michael Andretti's out of the car.
I think this is sad for everybody. I mean, you just really know. He's really controlled this race, really been quick, and we all thought he might win this one.
He was driving just the kind of conservative race.
Let's go to Gary.
Michael Andretti has come over the wall. We believe that it was a rear wishbone. We have the video contact where he was trying to get around, we believe, Gugelmin, and apparently got the rear up there. They believe it's a bent suspension. As soon as he gets the helmet off, he's huddled with Tim Bumps, his crew chief, his engineer, Peter Gibbons, his wife, Sandy, is there, and we'll try to get a comment. Boy, we thought maybe the Andretti jinx would be passed. But apparently that's not the case, Paul.
Let's take a look at that replay. Maybe we can see exactly what happened to Michael. I'm sure that's what he's waiting for. Now here is Michael Andretti. Yeah, that's not a brush. That's a solid hit. So as we come back to live coverage, that is Scott Sharp that you saw just get into the wall just before we ran Michael's replay for you. And the yellow light is out. This is the third caution period of the day. Scott Sharp obviously okay. His rescuers are right there. Let's go back to Gary Gerald.
The helmet has come off, and Michael, I don't know what to say. Every race this year, you've been a leader. What happened in this situation?
I guess Mauricio was coming into the pits because he slowed down, and I had to run, and I went to the outside because I didn't want to hit him, and it's like ice, and I hit the wall.
How had the car been performing up to that point?
Beautiful. Best I've ever had here. The car was great.
Was this your best chance to win the 500?
It was one of them. One of them.
The story in the eyes tell you so much.
That's what happened when a car gets out of the groove. Now you can watch right here. He's coming out. He's out of the black, what we call the groove. He's in the gray. The car just doesn't have as much adhesion. His tires probably aren't very new, and boom, look at the right front. Hit the wall fairly hard, even though it didn't bend anything that's obvious to us.
All right, now, here's another view. That's Gugelman as he was trying to... Now, actually, Gugelman was way down low there, and there you saw Michael as he came up, brushed the wall, hit it hard enough to do damage and to take him out of the race.
But what happens in a deal like that, Paul, is that shot really started way back in the short chute because of the speeds that we have. So Michael got out into the gray and just couldn't get it back down into the black.
What all this does is give Scott Goodyear the lead, moves Gugelman to second, and Paul Tracy to third. Here's a replay of what got Michael Andretti in trouble. That's Mauricio Gugelman just ahead as they come across the short chute at the north end.
Now watch, Gugelman went to the left. He's plenty low. That thing was slippery. Michael wasn't all that much out of the groove. Watch him, kaboom! He hits the wall. What happened, Paul, I think, is that the racetrack has got some liquids. It's very slippery there. Gugelman was totally out of the way. Michael was just out a little bit.
And right now we have 7 cars on the lead lap as we await the pit stop by Michael Andretti. And here he comes. 80 miles an hour now. He has to slow down to 80 to run down through this area.
And Bob Goodrich, for those just joining us, we might want to remind the fans that Andretti had to pit on lap 20 because of a cut left rear tire. That's why he is out of sequence. He pitted on lap 20, then lap 53. Now the 38-year-old Indy veteran comes in for what should be a routine pit stop. They don't plan any adjustments. John Kaminsky holds Michael in the pits to get the fuel complete. And he's down and away.
Less than 13 seconds for Andretti.
That was a nice pit stop. They did everything correctly. They didn't really hurry. They knew they had enough time, so they just made the pit stop, did their business, and got back out.
Michael has now led 391 laps in 9 races here at Indianapolis. No one has led more laps here at the Speedway without a victory.
Right now, let's go to Jerry Punch.
Thank you, Al, with the legendary Mario Andretti. And Mario, watching you, it's almost as if you're driving this race. You seem to be very, very nervous and involved.
Well, you know, I'm on the sideline here. I'm a bit tense, but you know, the team is doing a phenomenal job, and they seem to have everything under control, so that's the main thing.
A dad watching his son try to fulfill his destiny, another Andretti win at Indianapolis. Jack? Well, Barry Green owns this team and had the difficult call of whether you bring Michael in or not. Barry, you're leading the race. It's raining, and yet you opt to pit. I mean, I guess you're hoping this is a brief shower?
Well, that's what we're hoping. You know, we're just looking up and trying to decide whether it's going to stick with us or not. But, you know, still a long way to go, and we don't think the race is going to be cool. We still had to protect, though. We're over half tanks. We'd used 20-some gallons already, racing hard there at the front with Greg. And you know, we had to protect against the fuel we'd already used. So we still think we made the right call. We think this race is going to run a lot longer yet. So we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed.
A moment ago, Michael said, Barry, I pray to God you're right. And Barry replied, I pray with you, Michael. Vince?
Still under caution here at Indianapolis. While we were away, we had some pit stops. Watch the rush out of the pits. That's Castro Neves right behind Farron, but Michael Andretti and Tony Stewart come very close to colliding.
And I'm going to tell you, let's take another look at it from a different angle. There's DeFerrin coming out. Castro Neves tries to beat his teammate out, and when he does, he pulls right out in front of Stewart. Stewart slams on the brake, and Andretti, I think, does actually run into the back. And Stewart is so mad he could fist fight somebody right now, I guarantee you.
Let's take a look. Oh, you can see, yeah, there was evidence that he did make contact with
that's
Stewart.
A tough break for him, but aerodynamically, we're just going to have to wait to see how bad that hurts him. So it could be a big, big deal.
And the discussion is ongoing here in the Michael Andretti pits. Barry Green, Kim Green, Michael Andretti, Mario Andretti, they've all been talking about what they should do here. And apparently they are going to leave Michael out. They had the spotters look very closely at the front wing. They saw the damage that we all saw at home from the contact with Tony Stewart. And they figured the wing should be okay. And again, they said should, but I'm not sure that they're very sure. Michael Andretti has already dodged a couple of bullets here today, and he climbs out of the car and is trying to wipe off the advisor. And we'll get over and get a quick comment from Michael. Michael, initially you dodged one bullet. That cut left rear tire could have put you out or could have had a problem, and then the wing problem.
Yeah, I mean, just one of those deals. It seems like every time we start to get going good, something happens. But, you know, hopefully the problems are behind us. We'll get this thing going and try to get it back up front.
You still have an awfully good car, and I know Barry and Kim Green and your dad Mario have been smiling ear to ear on pit road thinking about what could happen in these final 40 laps or so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. You know, we have the car to win. You know, it's just if we can let all these problems leave us go, you know, maybe we'll get up to the front.
Maybe indeed Michael Andretti will get his first Indy 500 win here today. Leslie?
Michael Andretti, it's got to be such a great feeling to be back here at this track.
Yeah, but a little disappointing. You know, we came up a few short again. Doggone Penske's. Why did I have to come this year, the same year I did? But, you know, what can I say? You know, the whole Motorola Archipelago team did a great job. We hung in there, had a lot of adversity there, but, you know, that's life.
At the end there, did you feel like you had a chance to make a run, and was your car slowing down a little bit?
Yeah, I went loose. We made a change. I mean, it was my fault. I asked for it, and it went loose, and so that was the way it goes.
I bet you can't imagine going away from this place again.
Yeah, going away again. A little empty-handed, but it's always next year.
Jerry Punch.
Michael Andretti had a penalty earlier on, if you can recall, for running over a hose as we ride on board with him right now, going up through turn 3. Going to hit the short chute here between 3 and 4. And he'll be coming in this time, guys. A low line going into 4.
Michael Andretti on the pit road. Comes in behind Laurent Redon, who stands all over the brakes to slow down. They have to slow down by that pylon you saw off at the right side. Well, I thought Michael was going to get him.
And remember, Paul, last year Michael Andretti ran into a car in front of him, knocked the wing off, cost him a real good shot at the race here. Almost did the same thing there.
DeFerrin remains on the track. He's the leader. Scott Sharp now comes to second place on the track. Cheever is third. Paul Tracy is fourth. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Didn't have the right rear on that one. Hope Buell's got a problem.
Not the day that Robbie Buell anticipated. You remember how fast he was last year. And here's Michael, maybe a little long on that, but out he goes.
Long stop for Michael. Michael Andretti and Tony Kanaan both come in. Andretti expected, Kanaan surprised. Now they're working on the back of Kanaan's car, and Michael's car, I mean.
They've got the bonnet, Paul, off, and they are taking a look at the engine. The Honda engine is turned off.
Guys, I can tell you what this feels like. And when I've had this happen in the past at the Indy 500, it was not even my last race. You can only imagine what is going on in Michael's mind right now. The Andretti luck has happened again for Michael Andretti.
Michael stays in the car. Dan Weldon, another teammate in the Andretti Green stable, who's been running a very nice little race. They try to restart Michael. Castroneves is our leader, first time today. Mario, the 69 winner, who's had so much bad luck that Michael seems to have inherited.
And Paul, they just radioed with Michael Andretti. The worst words that you want to hear on your retirement day. That's it. He's getting out of the car for the last time. Michael Andretti will end his career winless at the Indianapolis 500.
At least in his last race, he led for 28 laps. And it's the 6th DNF for Andretti in 14 Indy 500s. The sight thousands of fans did not want to see. Michael Andretti's car going behind the wall.
What do you feel right here, right
now? I don't know. Really disappointed, but hey, you know, it wasn't meant to be. It's a shame because the 711 car was running very good. We were running right up at the top all day, and we had a shot at winning, a legitimate shot. So at least I can say I had a good shot at winning my last race.
Now you turn your gears and you become a hero. You still have some solid car in the field. You begin to call some of the shots or what?
I'm not going to call any shots, but I'm definitely, the first thing I did was look up the scoreboard and see where they're at. So I got to start cheering.
Paul, he may not win it as a driver, but he'd like to win it now as a car owner.
See that Marco is in 6th place. There is Dad Michael, and just a few moments ago, here's what we picked up on Michael's radio.
All my lights are on my tags. All my lights are on. Is everything still running okay? Just all the lights are on my tags, but I don't know where to shift.
All right, you've been in this cockpit. What's he talking about?
Well, when he says the lights are on the dash, that means his digital steering wheel, everything is on there that gives you the oil temperature, the pressure, and everything about the car. All the lights are on, telling him he understands nothing that's happening inside the car. He cannot even see the RPMs of the engine, and he said, I don't know when to shift. But the most important thing, guys, I think it's fine, simply from the fact I've had it before, probably electronic glitch there somewhere because the car is still working fine for him.
So it's not a situation he can't keep. He can stay out there.
He can stay out there. He'll get no fuel information. Nothing is happening. The question, though, is, guys, is the information from the car being sent back via telemetry into the computers in the pit lane for the engineers to read what's happening so they know how much fuel mileage he's getting. Otherwise, he's going to be like you guys are, Rusty, sort of calculating it in your head.
It not work.
Okay, did not work. Probably tried to reset it. It's not worked. He's probably got that problem for the day.
Well, right now, we know these cars have a lot of electronics, and they're pretty complicating, that's for sure. Now, to me, he's just got to be worried about water temperature, oil pressure. That seems to be fine right now. He made another comment, I don't know when to shift. He's just going to have to use gut instinct. When he hears that engine get down, he's just got to shift and forget about the lights.
Now, Michael and Marco Andretti. Marco's in 7th, Michael is in 8th, and Jamie, you overheard something very interesting, I think.
I did. Like, Michael doesn't have enough things to worry about today. As we reported earlier, everything failed on his dash. He didn't have any information. Well, I'm happy to report they have that back up and operating. Now, just a few laps ago, under the caution, he was following his son, Marco, and this is what he reported back to the pits.
Tell Marco to get down. He's up in the freaking stuff. He's getting crap on his tires.
Worrying about his son. Just to put it into perspective, how young his son Marco is, he's 19 years old. Michael Andretti was in his 4th Indianapolis 500 the year Marco was born. Pretty incredible, and this is a first for Michael Andretti. Guys?
Here's Dad worrying about his son. Michael started 13th. And there it is, the one graphic he would like to change. It's like when Phil Mickelson was going for his first Masters. You know, the best player never to win the major.
Mario's just saying, be quiet, don't say nothing. Let's just get this thing done. I don't want anything to get jinxed at the moment right now.
Can Michael Andretti pull it off at the age of 43? Will he win his first Indy? The green flag is out, and this time by there will be 4 laps remaining at Indianapolis. And look at the traffic behind him. That's Marco, 4 cars back. That's lap vehicles in between.
Is that Herta in a second position I've seen right now?
I don't think so.
It's Brian Herta in the second position now.
Yes, it is.
It's a team car. He could help Michael win this race if he could just hold that line. It's Marco in the second place. He immediately gets out of the way. Marco's going by on the outside. Brian Herta's going to tuck right back in. Then it's Hornish.
And the 4th car in that freight train is Sam Hornish.
The crowd is going nuts. They're jumping out. I've never seen the people this excited in my entire life. I wish the fans could look up and see what I'm seeing.
Now, how dirty will Michael be to hold back his son?
Marco's going to take a look on the outside heading into 1. We haven't seen that since 1991.
Oh my gosh, Marco Andretti, 19-year-old sensation. I've never seen a driver at this age as good as this kid is right now. He's amazing. The talent is on. Here comes Hornish on the inside, 3 to go.
Look at Michael. He was trying to hold back Hornish so he would not have a chance of getting anywhere close to Marco.
It looks like Michael's hopes for victory are dashed again.
Michael is standing by with Vince. Let's go down.
Well, Michael, you were in the lead with just a few laps to go. What was going through your mind as you led the Indianapolis 500, chasing the race that has eluded you?
I thought, oh, maybe, you know, and then I just knew we didn't have enough laps under the caution. If we would have just had 2 more, I think it might have been good enough to get it done. But and then Marco had a run on me. I tried not to mess him up because I knew he was quicker than me, and I just wish I could have held off Hornish 1 more lap. If I could have, he probably would have won. I thought he won it anyway, and he drove a hell of a race. I mean, all day long we were together, and I just was so impressed with him.
Tell me about the battle there, as short as it was, with Marco, and what kind of thoughts that were going through your mind from a strategy and a competition standpoint.
Well, I had to be very careful, you know. I knew I didn't have enough speed, so I wanted to not mess him up, but yet I still wanted to protect my line just in case, but he hadn't run on me, so as soon as I went to the inside, he went to the outside. I just gave him the line and then just tried to hold off the other guys, but you know, that's the way it goes. Jim Beam Vonner's guys almost pulled it off with great pit strategy, that's for sure, but you know, it just came up a little short.
How much fun did you have today?
I had a lot of fun, I really did. I mean, the car wasn't where we wanted it to be, but it wasn't bad. And, you know, our strategy was almost perfect, but not quite.
You indicated to me earlier today that this was it. Is this the last time you'll race at the Indianapolis 500?
I'll evaluate. I want to wait and see. I mean, getting this close and not getting it, you know, it's like, you know, so I don't know. We'll think about it in a few months, and then we'll let you know.
Jamie?
And let's see a little Indianapolis 500 history tidbit. No teams ever finished 1, 2, and 3 at the end of the race. Right now, that man right there has 3 cars, 1, 2, 3, with Kanaan, Andretti, and Danica Patrick. And Dario Franchitti is in 5th. And what about Michael Andretti? Well, he made that stop right before we went back to the green flag, dropped him from 11th down to 18th. Let's hear about that strategy, Jackaroot.
All right, Marty. Michael, give me what your thought process and your tactician's thought process was in calling you in and topping off.
They didn't know for sure. If it would have, they were saying, we were thinking it was going to rain another 15 minutes. So if that would have happened, the other guys would have been coming in and into the pits, and you know, we were hoping that's when we would hit the rain, but unfortunately we missed it with our weather a little bit. But you know, that's the way the whole day's been. Everything's been just missing, because I thought we were looking good with our other strategy, and then I lost that lap because when I was coming out of the pits behind John, I got held up, and then they passed me, and then that yellow really hurt me bad.
Michael, your car, though, you say that if it weren't for some of this bad luck, that this is a car that's capable of winning this race?
Yeah, if I can get track position, but in the middle of the pack, it's not very good. Once I was in clean air, when I was running with Dario and Dixon, I was actually reeling them in. I was thinking it was a little quicker than them, so I was looking good there. But when you got about, you know, 10 cars in front, it gets very difficult with my car.
Before we started to talk, you saw the graphic. No team has ever finished 1, 2, 3 in the Indianapolis 500, but that number 2 position is named Andretti. Do you want this thing to go back to green, or would you like to see it end right now?
You know, it's torn, I guess. You know, I think if it goes back green, I still have a shot at winning the race. But, you know,
having 1, 2, 3 would be nice too. So, you know, it's going to be decided on whatever's supposed to happen.
Thanks, Michael. Let's check in with Jamie.
We get word that Michael Andretti has peeled off, and he has moved into pit lane. His last stop, if you remember, was at lap 111, so that right again, about the same stretch. Everybody getting about the same fuel mileage. Michael wasn't happy about something.
Evidently, he thought that took just a little bit too long for his liking.